Hello and welcome to this episode of Not Just Ghost Stories. I'm your host Josh, joined by Jackie and Laura. We are a small team of experienced paranormal investigators, and here we discuss different locations that we've investigated, along with a little history and the paranormal evidence that we found. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the investigations. We were actually one of the first paranormal teams in this place, called Center Church out of Portland, Indiana. There's a little bit of history on it. Laura, would you like to read that for us?
Sure. So Center Church was organized by Reverend D.A. Boyd in 1891. It started in the schoolhouse that was across the road from where it currently sits. At its beginnings, it was known as the United Brethren Church. The small community it served had two denominations, and for a time they worshiped together. Each denomination wanted a church of their own, but the United Brethren Church got theirs first, and the other denomination never did get one built. In 1896, the lot where the schoolhouse stood was purchased, and a church was erected at the cost of $1,500.
Ooh.
Under the leadership of Reverend Thomas Coates. The men of the community did most of the work, hauling the foundation rocks from Montpelier by horse and wagon. Church history doesn't say when the church was moved across the road, but a basement was added and the structure was remodeled. In 1946, the church became the Evangelical United Brethren Church. In 1968, it went through another name change, becoming the Center United Methodist Church. Preachers came and went, some staying only a year. Attendance fluctuated from 108 all the way down to 40. Until its last few years, attendance was down to 5 to 6. On December the 31st of 2017, the last service took place at the church. Outside of the church, there in its yard, there's also a cemetery. And then I guess, Jackie, do you want to talk about the multiple properties that they own?
Yeah. The church is owned by STOP, which is Save the Old Properties. It was, I believe it was founded by Dan Allen and his twin.
Yeah.
So basically they buy these old properties, and through ghost hunting, your money goes towards restoring these properties instead of somebody coming down, leveling them down and putting in a Walmart or a Taco Bell. They have several properties. They own Randolph County Infirmary, General Asher Stone Mansion, Blackford County Jail, and the Irwin Campbell Speakeasy, Jim Jones's Boyhood Church, and they also own Center Church. Most of the work is done by volunteers, and all the money that you pay to ghost hunt there goes back into the restoration of the property.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we decided to start with Center Church. Again, we were one of the very first ones. I think there was only, they said there were 2 teams before us.
Yeah, and of course the people that volunteer, they're allowed, of course, to ghost hunt there and stuff, but it hasn't been ghost hunted real heavily.
No, by the time we got in there, it has not been ghost hunted heavily. Now, I have seen more and more people, saving the old properties is becoming very popular around our area in Indiana, Ohio, and certain, other areas. So if you're a TikTok fan or Instagram or anything like that, you can watch those lives. And Center Church, I see it every once in a while where they're in there and they're, starting to get stuff. So we're going to kind of talk about what we got, because sooner or later we'd like to try to go back and do it again and see what's kind of ramped up now that things there seem like they're starting to happen for some people. So what I remember about driving up to this church, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. You can see it from a couple miles away because it's about the only structure that actually sits above a little bit higher than everything else around it. But it's nothing but fields all the way around it, except for the cemetery that's right behind it. And driving up to it, you just kind of look, it's just a non-assuming small church.
It's just a little white church in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a big parking lot.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. We drove up to it. The day for us was extremely windy, chilly, cold.
That was one of our winter specials again.
It was. We do the winter specials. Luckily, I had indoor plumbing, so they did have a bathroom on premises.
And it had heat. It wasn't on at the time.
I finally got that working. What else do you guys remember about the church? Just kind of right off.
It's a pretty little thing. And the first thing I did was, because it was a ways up there, 3 hours maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were still, maybe you were unloading or you were still outside. And I said, I got to use the bathroom. So I went in, down the stairs, through the basement, and the basement felt kind of creepy, up these small stairs. And then you make a sharp turn, and right there's the bathroom. And there's nothing there. And I'm the only one in the church. So, of course, I didn't shut the door because you kind of have to maneuver because you can't just walk in and shut the door. You got to turn sideways and shut it. And I'm like, I'm the only one in here. They know I'm in the bathroom. So, you're in the bathroom and and as always is, I'm hearing footsteps. And they're coming across the floor. And then I'm like, well, okay, Josh and Laura know I'm in here and stuff. And then they're coming up the steps. And they come up the steps, and then you have to do a right angle turn and then turn and look. So I'm like, pee faster because the door's still open and things. So anyway, I just I got done, finished, and just kind of waited. Nobody showed up. I stepped out there, and there was nothing. You guys hadn't even come in the church, or you were...
I think
No,
we
you
were in
weren't
the
even...
sanctuary at the very
Yeah.
front of the sanctuary trying to bring in equipment and
Yeah.
stuff because we literally hadn't been there for 15 minutes?
If that.
Yeah.
So,
So, all of a sudden I remember Jackie coming to us and saying, were you guys coming, to the bathroom too? Or, no, we hadn't even been downstairs yet at that point.
Yeah, we were entering pretty slowly, I guess, based on normal, just because, as we mentioned, we were one of the first teams. So there wasn't a lot of foresight on where is anything located. But I think it is definitely fascinating that within a few minutes that Jackie had already heard footsteps.
Yeah, that kind of gave us hope for the hunt coming up that night. So we were,
It's a good sign after you've been in the car that long thinking, oh, please don't tell me we drove up here in the freezing cold for nothing. Because when you're that early as a team, it could be for nothing. You don't know.
and we learned important ghost hunting tip: always shut the bathroom door.
Well, that one was hard to shut the bathroom door because honestly, it was very small. For a guy of my size, I'm 6 foot, and I'm
Yeah,
kind
you had
of
to turn sideways.
yeah. It's kind of hard
straddle
to
the toilet.
yeah, it's kind of hard to even fit in there. So nah, you just
Yeah, my
it's a whole
goal
lot
was
easier.
just every time I was just try to be really quiet when I was in there. That way, if I heard somebody coming, I could be like, I'm still in here.
So we did unload the car, brought everything inside. We just kind of looked around and said, what do we do? So we decided to kind of walk outside because we knew that the cemetery behind it was part of it.
And it was still light out.
Yeah. We kind of wanted to walk the premises, kind of see what we were thinking. So we walked through the cemetery. It does have some older, graves in it. It's actually a larger cemetery than I thought it would be.
And I believe it's still I consider it a working cemetery.
Yeah.
They're still burying people there.
So it was, pretty cool to see that. You had some really unique headstones that were in there and everything too. But other than that, I think it was by that time we're like, okay, well, let's set up and try to figure out what to do here.
The wind was cold, so we didn't spend too much time outside.
No, it was.
Yeah, and it's still good that we went early too, because now, in case anybody is thinking about going, you can't go in that graveyard any longer.
Yeah, the last ghost hunt we did with the stop properties, he told us that nobody's allowed to do any type of ghost hunting in the graveyard anymore because Jackie, you had specifically asked about that graveyard too.
Yeah, because I had some things happen to me in that graveyard.
Yeah, and he had said, yeah, nobody's allowed in there. He's like, you just get those people that ruin it for you.
Yeah.
So obviously something happened, and now it's kind of more patrolled. Nobody's allowed in that graveyard whatsoever.
Yeah, he did tell
and
us.
that's by city. They said the city is the
Yep.
one that told them that nobody's allowed in there at dark anymore.
And I can understand that. Like we talked about, there's unique headstones in there, and if people are being disrespectful, we've seen it before where they break those. I don't know why you would do that, but I can see why the city is trying to do what they can to preserve it.
So like Jackie said, it was extremely windy. It was cold, so we decided to kind of stay inside until more toward dark, and we felt like we could go out and brave the wind and, and stuff a little bit more later on.
So Jackie, what did you experience in the graveyard?
In the graveyard, when we went out and it was dark, I know you guys, we were at the back of the church, and I was watching like visiting hour for spirits, because there's people walking around out there, and it just seemed like I equate it to that one painting, Picnic in the Park, where you see all those people having a good time in the park, picnicking, bicycling. Well, that's what I was seeing. And I also felt drawn to it. Now, you two did not feel drawn to it. I think I had to force you to step into the cemetery.
Well, Laura, you were having an issue walking, like you were. It was almost like a wall for you.
Yeah, but, not like a wall of like fear. Just I felt that I couldn't, maybe that I shouldn't go in there. Like it just got to a certain point. It kind of was like a I don't know type feeling.
Yeah. And I was getting just a feeling of dread when I would walk onto, because it's almost, there's really almost a defined line between the cemetery and the
Yes.
church. As you kind of walk that yard to go into it. And as I started to cross it, I just had this feeling of dread, like something was going to happen to me. I don't know what. Like I was going to maybe end up in one of those graves. I don't know. But I couldn't exactly explain it. But it was just this weird feeling of, nah, you shouldn't go any further. For some reason, I need to stay right here. This is where I have to stay.
And what I was getting was, it was dead time. It was time for all those spirits that were dead visiting. And because there's a big age gap between us and things, and I am the oldest one, so I equate it to I'm, 1 foot in the grave, whereas they're not. So I was welcome, because I felt welcomed. It's like, come on in, set a spell, whatever, and things. I felt welcome. And when you told me that you didn't, I'm like, that's the only thing I could figure out, is that you were too much life, not allowed in there when it was the time of the dead.
Which is good, but you also saw something. You saw a big tree, large monument.
I'm standing there, and I noticed 2 people, and they are by like a large, it took me a while. It's like there's a tree there, but there's also like a big stone, and I'm thinking, well, it's probably a monument. I don't think they just plop huge stones down in the cemetery. It's probably a monument, and these 2 people are paying their respects there. And they stood there for quite a while, and I stood there watching them and trying to make it, because it's dark, trying to make out. I finally figured out, okay, there's a tree, but there's also a monument that they were standing there and stuff.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is you don't remember seeing it earlier. Now, what I will say is when we're just kind of scoping things out, we're taking in things, but you're not taking in everything.
Right.
So
we're actually, I know when I'm scoping it out, I know Laura does it differently. You probably do it differently. I'm feeling the energy, and I want to know where the energy changes are. So I'm more concerned about energy changes than I am about, monuments and trees and stuff.
yeah. So during this time, you saw a large tree with a large monument and a
2
couple people
Yeah.
paying respects to that and then staying there for quite a while, according to what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of fast forward a little bit to the next morning when we stayed there overnight, and you woke up and said, I'm going to go see what this is about. I want to go see this monument. What did you see when you walked out there?
There was no monument. There was no tree. There wasn't even anything. Everything was headstone height, not the in-ground headstone, but the normal headstone height. There was nothing that would loom over there that would cast that shadow or anything like that.
Yeah, there were trees around around that, but they were pretty far back
Yep.
from where you were stating they were. They were way back there. Now you had walked back into the cemetery during the evening time, but you were still within my sight. If you had gone back to those trees, I would not have been able to see you.
Right.
So the whole entire time you were still within my sight. I'm pretty sure you were probably still within Laura's sight.
Yeah.
And I did not go up to the monument where the 2 people were. I got the impression that was a private thing.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to be there for that.
I was okay in the cemetery because, I'm close to death, obviously. But I didn't want to intrude upon those people.
And you were adamant about it too. Like, you all didn't see it. You did not see it. Like, almost like you were like flustered that we didn't see it.
Well, it's very seldom that I see something that you usually see something. We see a different version. I may see a different version than what you see, but usually you see something, I see something, Josh sees something. For me to see it and you two not to see it, that just doesn't happen.
It makes it a unique place in one way. And, obviously poses the question of why.
Well, and
Yeah.
some of that could have been that we weren't really welcome inside there.
It
Or at
wasn't
least
for
I
the living
wasn't.
that day.
Yeah.
Now, when we went, and Laura, you come out in the cemetery during the day, everything was fine. We could have wandered all around that cemetery. I don't think you had a problem going into the cemetery during the day.
No, I did go during the day. I mean, I even have pictures, pretty close of some of the headstones. So it was just
at night. It's the time of the dead.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems in the daytime. I could walk around there and read things and look at everything. So it's for some reason the nighttime in that cemetery, and it's a shame that people do things in order to stop that,
Right.
because it is a different atmosphere out there at nighttime, isn't it? A lot of people, well, you're in a cemetery at nighttime. That just gives you the creepy factor, anyways. Well, yeah, kinda, but not there. There wasn't a creepy factor.
It wasn't creepy. It was, you guys weren't allowed in, but it welcomed me. It was like they held the door open.
Yeah.
So I may not be on next podcast. Obviously, they know something I don't know, but.
So, I mean, the cemetery was a pretty cool place. It's just a shame, like I said, people in the future are not going to be able to go in there. But, you do have those people out there. Now,
And the graves are interesting. We spend a lot of time reading the graves, and some of them are funny, and some of them, the the people that were there was you get a little fragment of their life by reading their tombstone and stuff, and
yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah, they had a lot of details.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, people think about these things before they pass away. So if anybody had thought about them, I got a buddy that he swears on his tombstone that when he dies, all it's going to say is out for lunch, be back in 15. That's all it's going to say on his gravestone. Its name going to have his name. So people think about these things before.
I thought about it. I know I'm taking everybody's car keys with me when I go. Or after I pass, I'm coming back, I'm taking all your car keys, and they're going to be hid in some cemetery somewhere.
I have to say, I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah. As you get older, you do. It's just one of those things.
I am the youngest, so
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
Thank you for pointing that out, Laura.
So we'll go back to the church now. So what we will say is, again, we were one of the very first ones there in the sanctuary. While it was a very interesting place, you could feel the history inside of the place. Some beautiful windows and architecture inside of it. We didn't really get a lot of up in the main sanctuary part.
Nope. It was quiet.
Yeah.
Dead.
And we didn't get a lot. You can, as far as the energy, it was dead, but you can feel the old there.
Yeah.
So not like, spirit activity is not what I'm referring to. You can just feel the old.
Yeah. Now
You can feel the history. There's people there
Yeah.
with history, and you can feel the history.
Well, and the thing is when you get a place that's so new, because this is not the first new place that we've done. When you get a place that's so new, sometimes it's hard to try to make spirits understand, especially some that are older. We had just done one, recently that because everybody there was older, they didn't really understand lights. So I kept calling them fireflies just to try to make them understand, like, look, it's not going to hurt you. This is just something. So to see if I get some kind of different reaction. And Center Church was one of those. I really think they don't know how to manipulate any equipment. They don't know how to use their energy. They've never been taught.
And I don't think they understood what we were doing there.
Yeah.
It's like, what are these people doing there?
That's what I was going to say. If, say, when I pass on, if somebody is trying to ghost hunt and I'm there, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I can finally help somebody prove it. But if it was, say, like my great grandma, she would, she would not think it's something she should be doing. Trust me, she would not speak, even if she could. So I don't know if maybe over time those connections are built to where they're just like, maybe if I just answer,
Yeah.
go away.
Well, because what I will say is, again, I've seen them on I've seen Center Church on some TikTok lives by different groups and everybody that's there. Even there's one guy out there, he does them all by himself. They're getting REM pod hits now, on the actual, 4-5 LED REM pod. So they're starting to get REM pod hits. They're getting, Ovilus box words back all of a sudden. So it's kind of interesting to see from where we started. And even, they said some of the teams before us really didn't get anything either. But now as things come, I'm going to say we did that one, what, about a year ago?
Yeah,
Somewhere
I
in
think
there.
so.
So at about a year ago, was when they started this. They had just opened it up for investigations because they had to go through all of their stuff. To now, a little over a year later, now people are starting to get things happening inside there. Now, we did have some stuff happen downstairs in the basement. We did I was getting K2 hits. I will say I didn't get any recordings on this place.
Well, and also, Laura, you didn't like the basement, did you?
I did not like the basement.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, the dark is dark there. Like when I would look like in the corners, it was almost like it was just pitch black. I mean, it didn't feel threatening or anything. It was just like almost if the shadows had thoughts.
Okay. I can tell you're struggling with a way to try to really not even understand it, but the way to explain what you're trying to understand.
Like maybe somebody was there but not talking, not wanting to, like hiding or something.
Like lurking?
Yeah. But more than one, like I just felt like there was like shadows, like, but they were in like the corners and they just were just watching.
Well, it kind of, we got that feeling a little bit upstairs. I think they didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're like, why are these people here? What are they doing? Why are they asking stupid questions?
And it could be the empath if they're extremely confused. I mean, when we go places where they've been in pain, I can feel those things when they're sad. I don't see why it wouldn't be the same with, confusion on what really is that?
Yeah. Why are these people here and trying to talk to us, and why can't they see us? You never know why, what's kind of going through a human emotion.
Think about it. We were doing something that would never have been done in that church when it was a working church. Well, with anybody's permission, it would never have been done.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So, and they're probably dealing with that. Why? Who let these people in? And, all the little things.
Yeah.
I really would like to go back, though, to see if those shadows have, maybe if it was fear, if they've gotten over the fear, if it was just confusion, do they have some sort of grasp on that they can interact with us and we could with them as well? I would like to go back to see if they've learned.
Yeah. Now we did get, like I said, I got K2 hits. Now, for people that still kind of don't understand, it measures electromagnetic fields in the air. So, yeah, if you're around a breaker box that's letting off a lot of, residue off of it, you'll get some really hits of it. Even your cell phone, if you don't have your cell phone on airplane mode or just turned off, you can actually get hits off of a cell phone. However, there was really no electricity. I think you only had a couple spots, like as far as lighting and stuff. We had already gone through and done a sweep, didn't get any hits like that. And this was
I was going to say we did a pretty good baseline there because we had never. Well, it's never been done there.
No matter what, you always want to do a baseline. You just kind of walk around with it while you're just checking things out, not asking any questions, seeing exactly what's happening, and try to follow it. This was in the middle of the large room. As soon as you walk in there, nothing around. There's nothing that could have been around, but you could just get these little blips, like people were walking through it, or something was walking through it. And it was just nice and quick. And every once in a while, we weren't getting any answers off of it because you can use a K2 as a yes or no type of answer, question and answer session. We weren't getting much, but we did do the sensory depth. And I think we got some stuff off of that, right, Jackie?
We did. We talked to a man. Was he looking for his family or something? Something like that.
I don't remember, like, again, we'll go into my sensory depth. I was the one doing it. I don't remember a whole lot. All I can know is that I just throw out whatever I hear. So you guys were the ones doing it, if you can remember some of what was going on there. I don't think it was a lot of answers, if I'm not mistaken, but enough where we kind of got some kind of gauge.
He started to understand what we were doing the further we went into it.
Yeah.
But I believe he did not like you, Laura, did he?
No.
Yeah.
And that might have been why you were getting some of the feelings that you were getting. You think about that?
So my running theory on that is we do run into this quite often where spirits don't like me. And a lot of times, if you guys really think about it, it is when we're around religious things of some sort. I believe that a spirit can tell if someone is like psychically active. Like, are they using those abilities? And I think some don't appreciate that. Whether it's because they just think it's wrong, or if it's because they just really don't want something to come out. I don't know.
And dealing with the church, they would put you in a class of demon.
Yes.
Just because of your abilities.
Yeah.
And we remember Sweet Springs, those two
Did not
spirits.
like you.
Oh, God, they were mad at you.
There's-
And they weren't talking to you. They were responding to your questions, but they were responding through me. And, they did not like you at all. And they were mad at you because you weren't fixing the problem.
Yeah, and a lot of them, it's almost like spite. Like, that's
Yeah.
almost what I feel from them. As in, like, they would spit on me unless I was on fire, and then they wouldn't spit on me. So I don't know why they would ever think I'm the demon, because that's just evil on their behalf.
Well, you have to think, when was this church built?
1891.
Okay, so even then, back in those days, people feared what they considered witches or things that they couldn't understand. And then they did things to them in order to either chase them out or make sure that they were in the ground. I mean, we talked about this on an urban legend. They purposely put something on a headstone because they're not exactly sure why, but there was times that they can come back. So they put it on a date where they couldn't. So it could be one of those things too. They're scared. They're not sure exactly what you are. Right?
And also, you used the crystal ball there quite a bit. If you remember, I used a lot of psychic tools, I guess you would say, just because you don't know what's going to work when you go someplace new like that.
Well, and like you say, psychic tools for us, and that's all they are, is just tools. And the tools use depends upon the user. Can be used for good or evil. But to these people, it's flat out demonic.
Yeah, they see it as, I'm sure, like conjuring or something of those things, whereas I just use it to ground myself. And
it's a focus point.
Yes.
Yeah. And 1891 or 2024, I have had people come up to me and ask me, you ghost hunt. My preacher, pastor, whomever, religious leader says there are no ghosts, they're all demons.
Yeah. Well, I remember I talked to you about the one person who claimed, "Why am I worshiping the devil?" Just because they know that I do ghost hunting. It's like, what? And they are a very religious person, and think that I'm worshiping the devil. It kind of confused me.
If we were, those people have so many curses on them. They'll all be sprouting a tail and walking backwards. And not being able to find their car keys.
Exactly. So
well, and then, if they are demons and those people say we're already going to hell, then why would they be talking to us? They don't need us. They already got us. So it proves the point that they're not all demons. 99.9% are not.
Well,
demons.
and the thing that, because we have been close to what people call demonic. Demons, evil, call it evil. Okay, we've been close to it. No way in hell do I want to be close to it.
No.
I don't go there because, oh, it's demonic. Let's go kick some demon ass. We go there and find out it's demonic, and then we spend a lot of time making sure that we do not provoke it and that we do not come underneath its radar at all.
We back away from it and usually won't go back to it at that point.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things you don't want to. The most of the time, when somebody was bad in life, they're bad in death, is the way that I always like to put it to people. So, they're somebody who's church going, and that's what they know. Obviously, they're in that church for a reason, because it was more than likely a safe place to them. And then we come in and we're like, hey, we want to talk to you. We know you're a spirit, but we still want to talk to you. Now that might be a little bit outside of their realm, and now they're unsure about what they're supposed to do. Are we supposed to talk to these live people when we're dead? Because I didn't believe in that in the life. So, it's kind of one of those catch-22s that you're in on both sides of it. So with somebody like Laura, who is able to get a little bit closer as far as communication, even to the point of, maybe even seeing them or sensing them in some way, shape, or form, it's totally different form. And they might not like that at all because they're trying to stay back in those shadows. They're trying to stay in those corners. They don't want to be seen, but they can be. And that might be one of the big reasons for the dislike of somebody like Laura.
And to me, it's all an energy game, and Laura has a pretty powerful psychic energy and stuff. So, yeah, she might be scared. Well, she scares me, and I'm a live person, so.
I'm still curious, though. I mean, more about what does it mean to them. I really want to know, but then more so because of like the place you said where they wanted me to do something. Like they were mad at me because I wouldn't do something, but I didn't even know what that something was. So I'm just wondering, like, what do other ones think?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a question we should start putting into our EVP sessions.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of psychics? Can you pick out the psychic? Do you like the psychics? How do they come across on the other side? Do they hurt you? With stronger energy, I know I've talked to, from switching it, ghosts that have been not demonic and not evil, but so strong in energy, I have to tell them, back off. It's actually painful.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were psychic when they were alive. If that makes them...
So the psychics dead would be clueless? That's kind of sad.
That are the complete opposite. I meant more like the ones that have the really strong energy. When I imagine a psychic, I think their energy has to be at least at a stronger vibration or higher. It has to be something different. So if they later become a spirit, wouldn't that be slightly different as well than a non-psychic?
Who knows? I mean, we don't ask these questions because I don't think we're supposed to know the answers, but is psychic the card that when you die, you give it up?
These are all questions that we can go over. We're running close on time here. So let's get back to Center Church just real quick. Overall, it was fun to do, interesting for one of the first times being there. Definitely someplace I would go back to see what all's going on now. Your all's last impressions of Center Church?
I would go back because I've been to places post town where it starts out dead, and yet as the years go by and more people come in, they bring in stuff with them, and they also teach the spirits. So I would like to go back to see how many spirits are there, how many have been brought in, and what they've learned.
Well, I believe from all of my questioning and wondering, we all know I really want to go back. I definitely want to know what all that old is that I feel. I have a feeling that there's a lot of layers there when you talk about old. That's, that church is old. So definitely go back.
All right. Well, again, we're going to talk more about some of Saving the Old properties, other properties that they do have on our upcoming podcast. So make sure you stay tuned in for that because all of them are really interesting. and they all have a lot of really cool things going on.
And
with
they're
them.
good. They're good people to ghost hunt with. I believe all of them you can sleep over, which
Yes.
is nice.
You
And
can sleep over in them. I think all of them have bathrooms.
yeah,
I think all of them have heat now too, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken.
I even
So-
thought that in the beginning when you were saying initial thoughts. I was going to point out all the places that this organization has. They're the cleanest a ghost hunt can get. I mean, you got to think they are old. It's not going to smell, like new car scent. But as far as, not being afraid to touch anything because of what you'll get, that's not what you're going to encounter here.
All right. Well, with that, this has been Not Just Ghost Stories. We have been your host, Josh.
Laura?
and Jackie.
And until next time, you can find information and contact us on our website at notjustghoststories.com and see evidence that we've discussed on Facebook at Not Just Ghost Stories. Thanks.